Hi, welcome to Off Script. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Today on the show, it's a pop star episode. It's an episode about sad pop stars. First things first, Michael, the new Michael Jackson biopic is out. We have seen it. We're excited to talk about it. Also taking a look at Mother Mary, the new David Lowery picture. Guy who made Green Knight. Yeah, he's got a new movie out starring Anne Hathaway, Michaela Coel, Hunter Schafer's in this movie. Really interesting, a little witchy, dramatic, a little bit queer. Stick around for the Mother Mary review. We're going to take a quick look at Lee Cronin's The Mummy. I am so stoked to talk about this because I didn't see it. Andy did, and I didn't know he saw it till just now. So just like you guys, I'm excited and looking forward to hearing what he's got to say about it. I didn't have to go through the trouble. I don't know if it's very good, but I have a feeling maybe not. We'll see. Stick around for the review. We need to talk about some trailers, some stuff that's coming out soon. We got to look at Clayface, the new DC film. We have a trailer out. That new Jackass movie, Best and Last. Maybe look at Super Troopers 3. Before we get to everything, we're going to hit the news. Our first story this week, big development in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Apparently, we're getting a new film from Obsession filmmaker Curry Barker. The guy who's making the movie about the wishing stick. Right? Yeah, you snap it off and make a wish, and the chick falls in love with the guy, and it's Obsession, right? Well, he's making a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie over at A24. Big studio stuff, big distribution stuff. What do you know about it, Andy?
Yeah, Curry Barker, who I believe is the son of Clive Barker, is on the rise. Like I said, he's got a big new movie coming out next month, next month, Obsession, which was purchased at one of the film festivals, Toronto, maybe, but it was like a
Toronto,
big thing. Yeah. A24 won the bidding on that. He's also going to be remaking Obsession, which is a 70s, 80s classic horror that stars Sam Neill. I haven't seen Obsession. Or wait,
are you talking about Possession?
I'm getting confused. Anyways,
yes.
Sorry. Curry Barker is.
Yeah.
He's going to be remaking or reimagining the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which has been kind of remade several times. There's one in 2004 with Jessica Biel. There's one from a few years ago that Netflix did, which is kind of lame because it's a Netflix film. So we haven't seen any of his stuff yet. Obsession looks really scary. I saw a trailer for it just the other day. Really excited about that movie. So good things to come, I think. But I also think it's really challenging to remake a horror classic because a lot of what makes it a classic is because it's new and different and scared audiences in ways they've never been scared before. Even if you do a good job, I think it's hard to capture that magic again. But it's definitely going to be a challenge.
We should probably take a look at his YouTube feature, Milk and Cereals, $800 feature debut. Did not cost a lot to make. Put it on YouTube. I think it's 80 minutes. Believe it or not, we've had it on the outline for a minute. It's like backup watches in case anything ever came around. But even though it comes from YouTube, we just felt like there's no way anybody will know what this thing is, and it's probably like who's gonna click on a Milk and Cereal review? It just didn't seem like anything. I don't know. It didn't seem like anything people would be interested in, so we've kind of been skipping it. Since then, obviously, he's moved into Obsession, which looks real cool from the trailer. Big tone. I know we covered it a couple weeks ago on Trailer Park. Looks good. Hopefully, if that plays good, I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is going to be in good hands. I think there's going to be some detractors. There's some big fans of that franchise. I'm not really I like it fine. I don't have a t-shirt or anything, but we'll see. And also I think it's interesting A24 is doing it. Typically they're going to be doing your what we call elevated horror, right? Apparently Blumhouse really wanted this. They were really fighting for this at this film festival. They had a bidding war. A24 just beat them. So I don't know. You got to wonder how it could have gone, right? We could have been getting the Blumhouse Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which would have been, fine and fun. But I'm thinking this is going to be something a little, a little dirtier, a little spookier, a little grimier. And I think Curry Barker is likely up to the challenge.
Right. Well, to make a comparison of something like Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049, you got to do something different when you do this reimagining. Blade Runner 2049 is about completely different things than its predecessor, and I think that's what you could do here. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 70s version, defines the genre in a lot of ways. It creates some of these tropes that are well worn now in horror. So I think it's got to be scary, but then you also have to just kind of make it about different things. Like you got to have some real strong and interesting thematic elements as well. Make it about something.
Yeah. One more bit on this before we move on. This is not, all right, it's seemingly unrelated to the Texas Chainsaw TV series. No, I'm sorry, is related to the Texas Chainsaw TV series that's coming from Barnstorm, which is run by Glenn Powell, the actor, and Dan Cohen, and director J.T. Molnar, who did Strange Darlings and most recently The Long Walk. He's working on a television series with Glenn Powell attached for Texas Chainsaw. Don't know where that's coming out. Don't know what that looks like. But this film is being developed alongside that. So we're getting a little Texas Chainsaw something coming down the line soon, right? Some potential in there. Do some family members, right? Maybe one per episode or something twisted. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. But if you're a Texas Chainsaw fan, sounds like you're going to be eating good sooner rather than later. We got to talk about this. What is this? I haven't seen this. You caught me out. I should be reading this before we do the show. Sony taps Brian Helgeland to script Django Zorro film from Quentin Tarantino-Matt Wagner comic. Good Lord. What? Please tell me what this is.
I know this headline is like a Mad Libs where it's just like this studio, this director, this property. Yeah, it's really bizarre. So apparently Quentin Tarantino followed up 2012's Django Unchained with a comic book that kind of followed on after the events of that film, where he teamed up with Zorro of Masked fame in a 7-issue thing, and they're going to not make that book, but a continuation kind of from that. So you have Django Unchained, this comic book, and now they're making a movie that kind of continues this comic book. Really kind of strange team up here. And they related it to the Mask of Zorro, which was probably the best Zorro movie in the last 30 years or so. It starred Antonio Banderas and the Welsh Catherine Zeta-Jones, who's Welsh, playing the Mexican woman. But that's a really good movie. What's his name? Anthony Hopkins
Antonio
is in there.
Anthony Hopkins is in there. Yeah.
And he essentially is handing the mantle of Zorro off to Antonio Banderas. So I think he'll need to do that again because that was 30 years ago. We probably need to get recast. So that's what this is. It's really bizarre. I can't believe this is happening. It is not being directed by Quentin Tarantino. It just kind of has his blessing. It's being developed by Sony. And like I said, incredible. Brian Helgeland wrote LA Confidential and Mystic River. So it's like well-known movies. So yeah, he could do a great job. But just like I said, such a bizarre, just like this sentence never put together before.
Yeah. It seems strange. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm skeptical, right? It sounds odd enough that like that probably won't go anywhere. But also, Sony is making a lot of interesting moves lately. Remember, out of all the studios, they're the ones that didn't strike up their own streaming service. So they are not deeply in debt trying to like fill a service. They're just like licensing content out to other places. They're doing incredible work at Sony Pictures Animation. They've had a lot of luck with Spider-Verse, K-pop Demon Hunters, right? Even like We're the Millers over on Netflix is huge. They've been making a lot of interesting moves, and they're stepping more into video game adaptations. I want to say they had something to do with that Ninja Turtles movie that came out, but maybe that's a different studio. I might be thinking that wrong. The point is, like, I don't know, they're making a lot of odd moves. And like, we live in the time of streaming, right? We live in the time of connected media. Maybe a Django Zorro from Quentin Tarantino animated feature or something like could probably be sick. Like, I don't know, get some cool something, stick it together. Maybe. Yeah, but it sure is an odd something, man. Hollywood is always churning. You never know what successful project might bubble up to the surface.
I said you could probably get Jamie Foxx back to play Django. That was only a little 13 years ago, so it'll be a little while. But like I said, you probably need to recast a younger Zorro, and they mentioned that this would focus on a younger Zorro as well. So that's fun fan casting as well.
It's too bad like it won't have Christopher Waltz's character in it because I know he could use the work. God, he has been. I like Christoph. I like Christoph Waltz a lot, but man, it just he did like bursts onto the scene
Oscar
with Tarantino. Curse. Yeah, and Inglourious Bastards like wins one for Django for kind of a similar role, and then just like has totally fallen off. He was in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, right? Isn't he in there?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the last thing we saw him in. All right, rock on, Christoph. Well, hey, at least he's working with Del Toro. We got to talk about the box office. Michael is just the most successful movie ever. Man, I talked a lot of smack on this for a while. I definitely did not think it was going to be this big bang. I didn't know what it was going to do. Clearly, I was wrong. It is incredibly successful. What are the numbers, Andy?
So Michael, absolutely blew the expectations out of the water. It was tracking on course for maybe $70 million opening domestic. That was near $100 million domestic, opened $217 million globally. Absolutely huge. Biggest music biopic opening ever. The second place was Straight Outta Compton, which was around $60 million. Bohemian Rhapsody close to that in third, $55 million. So this is the biggest opening of this kind of movie, and like doubled the number. So really incredible opening. There's talk of like they're already going to do a second movie. That we're still waiting on the official word for that, but it's huge numbers wise.
Yeah, I really didn't know how well this was going to do. Like, music biopics typically have been popular, right? But people are kind of tired of them. It's got to be something really special for him to stand out. And there's a lot of controversy around the man, right? Like, I know he's popular. But believe it or not, I was working at the movies way back in school when This Is It came out. And I worked the midnight opening for that. And it was packed. Also underestimated that. Clearly, I am not tapped into the Michael Jackson fandom. They turn out, my God. Yeah, like huge audience, like people taking videos inside the theater. People like this stuff. Like, they like the needle drops. They like the music. They like the rose-colored glasses. They like the feeling of like how I felt back when, you know, Bad came out. And like when I was spinning Thriller years ago, you know, like the impact of this guy is unmistakable. And so in that way, it kind of makes sense. It's like the biggest music biopic ever. I totally see that. And also, like, you know, really smartly from the estate who's put this film together, like not getting into any of the controversy. Film ends in 88. Like the first allegation was in 2005. This nice fat chunk of time where we're just getting kind of the best parts, right? The best parts of the bird in the Michael movie. Clearly audiences are eating it up. Critics didn't like it very much. Funny how that works, right? It's got like 27 on Rotten or something, but people clearly feel the opposite.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more in our review. In second place was the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which had 21 million over the weekend, 830 million globally. It's creeping up there. I don't think it's quite going to get to $1 billion. I think it's slowing down, but it's a hit nonetheless. Project Hail Mary also holding strong, another 13 million, 613 million globally, doing incredible work still. Like I said, there's franchise talk. And what's really interesting is that Ryan Gosling is in another space movie. He's always going to space. Next summer, Disney's Star Wars Starfighter movie, which we don't really know much about, but he's headlining. And tell you what, Gosling in space, if it works this year, it's going to work next year. I think that's kind of a connection people are making.
I tell you what, when I was putting... Well, go ahead.
In fourth place, the Mummy, Lee Cronin's The Mummy came in with 5.6 million for 65 million globally. That's doing pretty well on its $22 million budget. And the drama crossed 100 million globally, 107, another 2.6 domestic. Go on.
Drama crossing 100 million is like a sleeper story. That's a big win for A24 and a big testament to like the star power of Zendaya and Rob Pattinson. That rocks. Like, that is an odd sort of movie. It's an odd shaped movie, and also pretty good. We talked about it just a couple weeks ago. Go check out our review on the channel. Not too shabby. We skipped the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I get the trend on that. I think the word of mouth just isn't quite as strong with this one. It seems like there's a lot of parents like warning other parents, like, hey, your kid is going to enter a flow state for 90 minutes watching this movie. It's freaking some people out, but I don't know.
A lot of competition too.
Yeah, and as for Ryan Gosling in space, yeah, man, he's really got an abundance of that. When I was putting together the thumbnail for our Project Hail Mary review a couple weeks ago, I went looking for like faces of like Ryan Gosling in space. I came across First Man content like crazy, right? Like, you could just swap them out. It comes Starfighter, like you're going to be seeing thumbnails on YouTube using screenshots from Hail Mary. First Man's going to be stuck in there. Like, my man in a spacesuit, he's going out there, right? He's a rocket man. So, yeah, that's Gosling. And his stories from the box office. We should jump into Michael.
I think we're ready to jump into it.
All right. Well, I'm going to be taking the summary on this, so please excuse any funny delivery. The movie is Michael. So, really quick, for fans of Michael Jackson who are checking this out, I just want to say, if you're going to see a music biopic and you just want something that's lightweight and you can eat your popcorn and you can enjoy the big, incredible needle drops that come in a movie like Michael, I think Michael is a fun time. I think critics maybe not have been overly harsh on it, but it's got a pretty low score, and compared to the audience score and how well it's done at the box office, it's obvious that there's something that works in this movie for a lot of people. And I think that's worth mentioning. It is fun. The music is good. The characters are pretty straightforward. It's a fun 2 hours. But if you're looking for something complicated, if you're looking for a complex view of the man and kind of how he ended up getting to where he is, I don't think that's exactly what this movie's setting out to do. Michael is, of course, the Michael Jackson biopic, or at least the first part of it, looking at Michael's life growing up from Gary, Indiana in the 70s, getting into the Jackson 5 with his brothers, getting into Motown Records, moving into his solo career, creating Off the Wall, his first album, Thriller, maybe the best pop album of all time, and then, of course, Bad, where the film ends in 1988, well before any allegations in 2005. That's directed by Antoine Fuqua and stars Colman Domingo as Joe Jackson and Jaafar Jackson as the titular Michael, who is tremendous, I should say, in the role. Very, very good. Great music, great times, and a pretty interesting 2 hours of Michael Jackson's career. It's rosy. It's a rosy look at the man. He's got some problems for sure, but not many. It's mostly an innocent man who has been kind of, tortured through childhood and develops into a diamond from the pressure that he gets from his father, who's kind of the antagonist of the film. I think I'm talking too much around it, so we should just jump into it. Andy, what did you think of Michael?
Okay. So I think this movie's really bad for a number of reasons. I think it's actually really pretty sinister. We'll get into that a little bit more. Number one, I just think it's a bad movie because it's not really a movie. It's a series of music videos. It's like someone wrote an outline of a script and just said, and then you just see all those moments. There's hardly any story between the musical moments, particularly in the first hour where we're meeting the Jackson 5 and the boys. It's literally like this song to this song to, it's just musical performance to musical performance. There's no narrative. There's no story. There's no real conflict. Like, again, these kind of basics that you would have in the story. The antagonist is Joe Jackson, I guess. He's a real easy punching bag because they make him almost like a caricature of a bad guy. He's very like mustache twirling, literally pops behind doors to scare the children. And not that he wasn't a bad guy, but Joe Jackson is dead. There's no one, and no one is going to defend him. So he's a real easy punching bag. But Michael Jackson encounters zero obstacles, zero. It's just success the entire way up there. Like, he doesn't overcome anything. And even when Joe Jackson is like, well, Michael's not doing that, he does it anyways. Like, again, there's no obstacles. He doesn't overcome. Yeah. He doesn't grow and change as a person. This movie is sinister, I think, because it's really an attempt to rehabilitate Michael Jackson's image to make more money in the future. Like, it's as described on the Midnight Boys podcast as a state-sanctioned propaganda is what it feels like. It's not only like, if you don't want to get into the child abuse allegations and all the nasty stuff in the 90s, that's fine. Then you still have to get into the story of, I'm interested, how did the Jackson 5 evolve and develop? And there's all the characters are one note. Like, he doesn't have relationships with any, but like I said, the big thing is they are rewriting the history of who this person was. He is weirdly deified as like this messiah who was going to save the world through his music. Like, not an exaggeration. It's like, what are we doing? Like, yeah, the record was good. He's not going to like bring world peace. And I mean, there's a ton to get into. Those are my initial thoughts.
Strong initial thoughts.
Take this off.
I don't think I'm as harsh on this as you are, because I think this movie is just not doing what a lot of people want it to be doing. A lot of us would like this to be a sincere analysis of who this guy is. Like, he's like I don't know. It's like, it's an otherworldly force to many of us, right? Like, Michael Jackson's impact cannot be understated. He's like Mickey Mouse, which is in the film a lot, by the way. A ton of Disney in this film and a bit of Pepsi as well. But everybody everywhere in the world knows who Michael Jackson is. At least by the time this movie ends, he is a global phenomenon, right? And he has to start as this kid in Gary, Indiana, who's getting beat by his dad with his 4 brothers around him who are like set dressing. Like, the other Jackson brothers are barely in the movie. Janet Jackson opted not to be in this film. She's just not here. Nia Long plays his mom, who is like very quiet and has like one character note that she like watches movies with him, and she says nothing when Joe Jackson gets mad. And, he's got to be this little kid who does all this stuff and grows up and becomes a person. But yeah, it so just holds him at arm's length and takes pity on him. The movie does not make any effort to challenge Michael. He's a man who's got a father with brutal anger issues, and he has no anger issues at all. He's just completely soft. Michael Jackson had girlfriends over the course of this film, but you never see any of them. You know, yeah, he never has a relationship with his sister. You never get scenes of his brothers calling him Big Nose when he was a kid, which he talked about in interviews, which was part of the reason he ended up getting surgery. None of that's in here. Like, they didn't need it. And part of that's because the Jackson estate has funded the film, right? They ended up funding reshoots and putting like 15, 20 million into it to reshoot the ending of the movie. Originally, it had ended differently. We can maybe talk about that in a minute. But like, what we have here is, a very sanitized version of Michael Jackson. And a lot of people want that. Like, as evidence from the box office and his streaming numbers that continue to impress over the years. Like, a lot of people just want like the Michael Jackson they saw on TV. And that's who this is. That's who this is in this movie. This is the Michael Jackson you want to remember. When you see him in Thriller, that's how he looked in your head. You know what I mean? Like, they nail that pretty good. But it's not a good job of showing us like who the guy really was. It's just who we want him to be. So let's get into it. For 2 hours, we are talking about the Michael movie, right? Sorry, the movie's 2 hours long. And for 2 hours, you're getting incredible needle drops. While you said it is a lot of music videos, you're right. They're all bangers, dude. I like, you forget. Like, I forgot half the tracks that were coming out of the Jackson 5, like, first act in this movie. And I was just like, oh my God, dude, these are so good. I was about levitating out of my chair during Beat It. Like, not only are the beats hot and sound great in a theater, Jaafar Jackson is pulling off incredible dance moves. Really incredible choreography. Like, he's locked in. My man is a lot popping and locking, locked in. Like, and slowly over the course of the film, he has to transform into Michael. The first act is a child actor playing young Michael in the Jackson 5, but once we transition to Jaafar, we're kind of on our way. And I think one of the things that's really interesting about him is not only his ability to kind of capture the voice and the performance as we want to believe it, but also like the transformation. Like, not only does he have to get famous, but like he gets a number of nose changes, his skin gets lighter, he gets the trademark eyebrows, the jawline, his hair changes. Like, over the course of the film, our man is like changing almost like a monster movie, right? Like David Cronenberg's The Fly or something, like slowly making changes to become what we know, the collision course with the future, you know? And I was really, I was kind of impressed at how well it works. It's subtle, it's small, and plays really funny opposite Joe Jackson's makeup, played by Colman Domingo, who's very cartoonish. He's a very cartoonish villain,
yes.
Which is a lot of laughs. He's got these big green, thick contacts on. And yeah, it's just absolute cartoon villain of the week, Joseph Jackson.
Punching bag.
He's a bad guy. Punching bag, for sure.
Yes, Jaafar Jackson is doing a pretty good impression. My issue is that why do we recreate something that we can just go watch? Like, I don't need Thriller recreated. I can just go watch Thriller. Same thing with Beat It. And I hate to say it, but to me, he clearly put all his effort in like the dancing part, not so much the acting part. But it's just not quite there. It's like if Michael Jackson was an 11 on stage, which he was all the time, Jaafar Jackson's like an 8. And I can see it and I can feel it. And I was like, it's just not, you're kind of lacking the energy for me. And again, this is why this is why I'm just like, I would just rather go watch the live performances. This wasn't that long ago. It's not like, you know, when we had the biopics of like Ray or Elvis, where you are having to recreate things that we don't have anymore. But this, like, unfortunately, we can watch them side by side and compare. The scenes between are very one note. Everything, like, Michael Jackson is somehow the richest, most powerful person in the world in the 80s, and also a perpetual victim. Everyone's just like shaking their head. Oh, poor Michael. If only he could get like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But he's just kind of that one note. Everyone just kind of sulks. It's really bizarre. Like I said, this movie is very concerned with myth making. And I mean, it's not even, again, where are his relationships with his family, with his significant others, with other musicians? He collaborated with lots of other musicians. It seems like they didn't want to have anything to do with this. His performance is fine. It's going to be fine for most people. I'm sure it was a lot of work. Like I said, it's not Michael. And most people won't care. I could
Supporting performances are interesting too. Yeah, the big ones are Jaafar and Colman Domingo, but Nia Long plays his mom, who, like I said earlier, is like very one note. Like, Michael's mom is very encouraging of him, but does not stand up to her husband. She doesn't really have any sort of character arc or change throughout the movie. She's just kind of supportive where she's able. Miles Teller plays his lawyer with a really funny 80s haircut, who's kind of in the movie too much for what he's doing here. He has a wonderful security guard who is a big part. Like Jackson kind of cited him as kind of his second father. I cannot recall this actor's name. I'll look it up in just a second. Andy might be able to find it for me.
It's
God, there was somebody else.
Darrell Jones.
Yes, yeah, who's a lot of fun. Is kind of this like kind of one friend character. Like the Michael
he's
drawn
one
to,
of he's also one of the ones shaking his head at poor Michael.
Right, poor Michael. Yeah, Michael is very isolated and is very lonely, and like no one sees him the right way. Whenever he goes out, he's like surrounded by people trying to get autographs who are just like absolutely starstruck, you know. But it's a shame you don't see a lot of like kind of the deeper collaborations. Yeah, like he had a couple girlfriends along the way. Like might have been cool to see how he interacted with a girl on a date, you know, or like maybe his costume designers who put together like the incredible fits he ends up wearing in the second half of the film. Like you never see them. He didn't write all his own tracks. Like he had help, but you don't really get a mention of any of those people. It's Michael comes up with everything. You got the scene where he's like got the notebook and he's writing like inspiring words. And he's like, yeah, like this will be going to the studio. Like, I got it. There's a really funny scene of him confronting gang violence when he's working on Thriller, I think.
My God.
Yeah, like he sees the thing on TV and he calls like the Crips and the Bloods up and he's like, we got to get together. We got to get together. It's great. It's great. Like if that's what you're going for, it's like, hey man, eat your popcorn. Like it's great. And there's a lot of awesome music in between. Thriller looks sick. Beat It looks sick. Like everything's here. Human Nature looks sick. Like they go to the trouble to make like a bunch of cool music videos. But yeah, it is awful thin in the turns, like for sure. Like it's very simple. Michael is always the victim. Michael is never the antagonist. He's never the bad guy, even when it comes to firing his father. Like he has somebody else do it because he's too cowardly. He can't confront him. And it's like, that's not a real person. Real people got problems and make mistakes and do stupid things and learn lessons. But Michael is just kind of like on this heavenly pedestal, right? Like the tallest of towers, all of us peering up at him from our seats in the theater. And like, that's what a lot of people want it to be. They want him to be this like superhero, but like, that's not what he is. And this movie honestly feels like it's on a big collision course with part 2. People are comparing it to Wicked, right? Like part 1's got all the good songs.
Oh gosh.
It's a little true. Like they hit so many good beats in here. It's like part 2 is going to be a little lean on good music. There's some stuff in there for sure. They'll break it open it with Smooth Criminal for sure. Cause I don't think that's in this one. Like you could start there, but also starting part 2 with Smooth Criminal feels like it's real on the nose. Don't you think? Cause like there's going to be some subject matter in there that's not going to play nice. And from what we know about how they shot this first film and the stuff that they cut, they were not kind to Jackson's accusers. They said they were phony. They said they were trying to get money out of him. Like that's what this movie was originally, that he's the victim. That's what we're getting. So for part 2, that's kind of going to be the line, I think, that all those people are fake and bad or something, you know, like somehow those people are malicious. And like, I don't know, man. I think it's more complicated than that.
So a little bit more backstory. So this film was originally going to be 3 hours long, like this big mega biopic. And after they had to reshoot basically all of the third act, they cut a lot of stuff. Maybe you could have gotten a more rounded feature in that way, but that really affected things. I wanted to talk about how Michael Jackson is like the Messiah, this messianic character of music. Again, solves gang violence in an afternoon. But then is also a perpetual victim, completely helpless. Like nothing is Michael's fault. Like, and I think that's one thing that the movie that, like I said, is really sinister. Nothing is his fault. Everything was done to, like Joe Jackson everything is blamed on Joe Jackson. His body dysmorphia, his addiction to drugs, his injury during the Pepsi commercial. Well, it's Joe that made me go on that tour. And it's just like, I'm going to start blaming Joe Jackson for my problems. Cause that's what this movie does. It's just like, there's zero responsibility for our main character.
Yeah.
Another reason. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's a bit of a pain creates pain sort of movie, except it doesn't give any credence to Jackson as just this like outright monster. You know what I mean? There's never a scene where he sits down with Michael and is like, you know, my dad used to hit on me too. Like never happens. You're not getting any of that in here. Not important.
The movie goes out of its way to focus on his eccentricities, like all these pets exotic animals that he would have at his house, and also in like his room, he has tons of stuffed animals and all this like kid stuff. And this is what really bothered me, because part of the defense of like the PR defense when the allegations came in the 90s, well, it was, oh, well, he is stunted. He is, arrested development. He didn't have a childhood, so he's like perpetually stuck there. So that was the line, and they kind of are getting ahead of that by putting a whole bunch of that in this movie. They have a bunch of him reading Peter Pan numerous times. It cuts to him reaching, and not like the novel, the Disney Peter Pan, and like picture book. And there's a point where he comes home with a game of Twister, and he like wants to play with his brothers, and his brother's like, no, we're gonna go out and meet some girls, and we're gonna go hang out. And he's like, no one wants to play Twister with me. I guess I'll play Twister with Bubbles, the chimp. And it's really trying to create this, continue this narrative of like, oh, well, he was just a child at heart, which was used very sinisterly as a defense later on. So this is one of the things that I'm like, again, it's a big PR stunt to create a narrative, to whitewash his image, to rehabilitate his image so that we can keep using his brand and make more money.
It's so interesting, I think. And Bubbles is in the movie. I forgot to mention that. Lots of Bubbles, for sure. It's so interesting the way this film cuts to crowd shots. I think that's something that's important, like reactions, because seeing, even if it's like phony, right? Seeing crowds of people just losing their minds to Michael Jackson, or like seeing his like early producer, like listening to him belt and just being like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm seeing something otherworldly. Like it really does feel like your chair is vibrating a bit. Because it's like you remember that feeling a little. You remember the first time you heard a Jackson track that you really connected to. And I think if you connect with that music in the theater, I think it's a really powerful experience for sure. Like, dude, I was levitating out of my chair during the Beat It sequence in this movie. Like, and I've seen it on YouTube. Like, I've seen the old sequence, but like, man, it's just got so much gas. You know what I mean? Like this, it's like framing him as this frustrated individual who's able to produce something so great and so otherworldly, like feels like an underdog story, right? Like they push Michael down so he can rise up. That's the idea. That's the thing we're doing here. And if that's the movie you want, it's got like a 90 something audience score on Rotten. Like that's the movie you're getting, like for sure. I'm not confident about part 2. I think that's a huge mistake. It seems like Lionsgate's doing it anyway. They've kind of confirmed it, so we're in it, folks. Get ready for the Michael Jackson sane washing coming soon. God, dude, people are going to be so mean in the comments on this one. People click on this video. Every time we post Michael content, people are in the comments like just defending. And like, that's fine. I know people like him, fine. But like, it's just complicated. And like, if you're looking for something that engages with the text of the guy, especially where he got to later, like it tries to sanitize it and it tries to frame it. It's like, well, yeah, he was stuck and it's not his fault. And you're just like, dog, like, come on. Like should not be deliberated inside of a movie theater. Like that's not, whatever. Anyway, Michael is complicated. I think it is a simple biopic. I get why it's making so much money. The music is incredible. Jaafar Jackson is good. Colman Domingo is fun as this kind of like greasy, cartoony Joe Jackson. Any other thoughts before final recommendations? We should get out of this before it's too late.
Just one last thing. I did want to say that it just kind of moves through too fast through everything, because like you're right. Like there's a number of ways to do a musical biopic. You can do it about the music. Who knew? How you developed an album. The Springsteen biopic did that recently. It was all centered around one album. You could do it about the music business. You can do it about the family, maybe different aspects to tell the story. And this just tries to shove everything. Like here's Off the Wall. Here's Thriller. Here's Bad. It just, and it doesn't give you time to like see, well, what were the reactions to this music? What happened in the business, in the family? It doesn't really take its time. Like these are great moments. Like you could just do the making of Thriller and you could tell the story that way and it culminates with the end. That's where you stop. But like I said, it's like it's playing the hits and it's going so fast through everything. You never get time to breathe.
I would love to see a Springsteen style approach to maybe the making of Thriller or like Off the Wall or something, like him breaking out and doing his first solo album. Like just focus way down on that. You know what I mean? 2 hours on just him trying to make this one thing and being a strange, eccentric character and producers being like, what's this guy's deal? Yeah, he's from the Jackson 5. Oh, he's great. He's got a heavenly voice. You know, like just screw down on that portion of his life. And I think maybe the rest of us who wanted something deeper might have gotten it there, because this movie is flying at a breakneck pace. It is full of tracks. And that's Michael. I got to know. Final recommendations. Andy, would you recommend Michael?
If you're a fan of the music, you're probably going to enjoy it. I've talked to a number of people who are refusing to see this. I don't think I would have seen this if we weren't doing it from the show. So a lot of it depends on your relationship to Michael Jackson. The performances are pretty good. The performances are pretty good. You're going to tap your toe. It's not much of a movie. I would just go string together the music videos on YouTube. So sort of recommend.
Yeah, I'd recommend if you're looking for just kind of a soft music biopic experience of the movies. The tracks rock. The tracks rock. I like Thriller. I like Bad. I like Beat It. Okay, like they're there for sure. If you're looking for something that engages with Michael Jackson as a man and kind of the deeper text of that, this isn't that movie. It's very soft gloves. It puts him on a pedestal. We are meant to pity Michael Jackson. He is a victim, and that's the movie. Michael. Boy, heavy stuff. Very excited we're through that, actually. Glad we got to talk about that on the pod. Look, we're willing to take on challenging themes here on Off Script Film Review, all right? We're not pushovers. And with that, we should talk some upcoming trailers. Things are coming out soon. You want to open this up for us, Andy?
It's time for the trailer park. So we're going to start with Clayface, which we talked a little bit about on last week's show, the trailer had been shown at CinemaCon. We got to actually see it late last week. And man, this thing was good. This thing is scary. Like I was legitimately, it's like horror movie kind of thing. We meet our Clayface played by... Oh, I can't remember his name.
I can't either.
Tom Rhys Harris. Tom Rhys Harris.
You're going to know him in a year.
Yeah, Tom Rhys Harris, who plays Matt Hagen, an actor whose face is disfigured in a kind of revenge accident. Maybe owes some people some money. He tries some sort of experimental cream, which turns him into a shapeshifter. And this trailer was so creepy and so effective, and the body horror, man, it really got under my skin. I remember I sent this to some people, and they're like, "I'm not watching that. That looks too scary." And this is for a DC villain movie. I'm super excited about this. I think it looks really good. This comes out October 23rd.
Yeah, this is such an odd one. Like, obviously, comic book movies are having a lot of success, but that seems to be waning a little bit. So, looking ahead, like, DC is doing some different things. Batman is a little bit emergent. Superman's very Saturday morning cartoon. Supergirl is kind of following in that mold. But then there's this Clayface movie they've been working on. It's pretty cheap. It's not very, I think it's $80 million. So, like, not a super expensive movie, but, pricey. Seems confident. Gunn seems to like what's going on here. And then, yeah, actually getting a look at the trailer, like, quite stark. Quite frightening. It's like the opposite of the Harvey Dent thing. Well, no, I guess you don't actually see his face really unbandaged, but like it's giving you the Harvey Dent thing. Sorry, it's not the opposite. It's exactly Harvey Dent. Yeah, it's giving you Harvey Dent in Dark Knight in the hospital, right? Like something is off. Things are turning. We're seeing a process leading to a conclusion that's going to make our man Clayface. Surf Clayface. Surf Dracula Clayface. Hopefully he's Clayface like half the movie, though. I think opening with the trailer is really confident. Anyway, I got to move on. We got to talk about the trailer for Super Troopers 3. Boy, I didn't think they were ever going to make another one of these. Did you, Andy?
I did.
Super Troopers 3 is coming from Broken Lizard, the original comedy troupe and the creators of Super Troopers, Beer Fest, Club Dread. God, what do they do? They made a Quasimodo movie on Hulu. Super Troopers 1 and 2, of course. This is following in the footsteps of those films. Our delightful comedy cops from Vermont are still doing their thing and pulling over people on the highway and getting into shenanigans with one another. A couple new guys here on the crew. And surprisingly, Officer Farva, the big dumb idiot officer from the previous films, who kind of gets dunked on the whole time, is getting married to Sergeant Ramathorn, who is one of the nicer kind of guys, senior guys on the squad. He's getting married to his sister. So there's a whole lot of, shenanigans and evil shenanigans and stuff going on there. I kind of like that first Super Troopers movie. Believe it or not, we covered the second one on the pod when it came out. It was easily one of the worst films of that year. It was so bad.
Real bad.
Like,
so bad.
Terrible. I remember talking about the end of the year. I'd be like, throw this on the worst. Like, it's awful. This one doesn't seem to be dunking on Canada as much as that movie. Maybe that'll make a difference. I don't know. I think this is getting made because of the success of Tacoma FD, which is a television show that a couple of the guys have been on for a few seasons about firefighters. I imagine that it was doing good. I think they got like 3 or 4 seasons of that show. So enough buzz on that, and I think, hey, you can get some funding for Super Troopers 3. We got the guys back. What do you think, Andy?
So when I saw that this was going to be made and that there was a trailer out, I initially skipped it, and I'm like, that's kind of its time. You know, there was this like 5 years in the early 2000s, starting off with American Pie, where you had these stoner boner comedies, things like Waiting or Euro Trip or the stuff that these guys made. It was really funny stuff that you kind of could make pre-modern internet. And then the internet came around, and then we didn't really need stuff like this before. But this trailer actually made me laugh quite a bit. I was really surprised, and I thought initially was like, oh, this is dumb, but man, it worked on me. Like the charm is there, like the relationships between our characters is really funny. It had some really good jokes that I didn't expect to laugh at. So they got me, and it looks like while the second one wasn't very good, it was like kind of a straight to streaming situation. This looks like it's kind of back to its roots of kind of the ridiculousness of the first one. So I'm actually looking forward to this. This is out on August 7th.
One more comedy to talk about. When you talk about the trailer for Jackass Best and Last, boy, this appears to be the last Jackass movie, which is really bummer. Really bummer. Coming off the heels of Jackass Forever. This got announced a while back. I remember covering it on the pod. It seems like it is a greatest hits movie. Best of. Which is not good because people don't like best ofs. Typically a show runs a best of when they have nothing to play. But the guys have been getting together and filming some new stuff for it. What we know is it's the Jackass crew minus Bam Margera. They got together for a few days. Some of those new folks that were in Jackass Forever shot some new footage. One scene involving like a Boston Dynamics robot. Couple other goofy things, and then like an escape room gag they do. And then it's going to be a whole lot of old bits. And apparently some bits we haven't seen before from like the editing room floor, right? Like the stuff that didn't make the show or the movies or the .5 movies. Like here's the problem. I'm skeptical, right? Because like what else you got in there that we haven't seen yet that's still good and worth showing? Maybe not that much. If they package it together, they throw some new stuff on the end, it might be a good time. But most interestingly, this really does seem to be an attempt to say, hey, we're done. We're not making any more. Knoxville's been doing interviews about how he's been really emotional about it, how like we're not going to do anymore and this is it. And I get they're getting older and I get they just can't keep doing these bits. Like I understand that for sure. But like, I don't know, Knoxville's hosting Fear Factor. Like you can't just be like the de facto, you can't be the Bob Barker of Jackass. Like you can't just have the young guys doing dumb stuff and you still get to hang out and be the guy. I don't know. Like I like Jackass. I don't understand this sense of finality that comes from it. Maybe the movie will expand on that a bit more, but for what we know, it's like a 90-minute Jackass film. It's going to be in theaters, a celebration of the old and I would say new, but it's not going anywhere. So that's Jackass Best and Last. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, it looks okay. Like you said, all the throwback stuff isn't really exciting. You got some new footage, but like you said before, they didn't really film too much of it. It kind of broke my heart to see Johnny Knoxville, whose like hair is completely white now, because he's been doing this for 25 years. He's used to be someone that I would see on MTV in like the late 90s, and there were only 2 seasons of Jackass, and they've made 5 movies now.
Dude,
it's pretty clay. I think they probably also got away with the things that like you legally couldn't do anymore, like lots of dangerous stuff. That maybe that's another reason to kind of shut it down. It looks fine. I'll probably see it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I definitely want to go see it in the theater. I think the Jackass films are some of the hardest I've laughed in the theater ever. Like I still think of like guffawing at Jackass Forever. Like some of the stupid bits in those things are so funny. But yeah, that's Jackass Best and Last. That's coming June 26th. So coming up sooner rather than later. We're probably going to cover all these on the show. I would imagine we'll cover all of them on the show. So if you want to see our reviews for those, stick around this summer. We'll be covering them when they come out. Save for Clayface over in October. Also, God, I should have mentioned this during Clayface. Great release window. I was going and looking at what else Clayface had to compete with. You would think there'd be a few horror movies in October. There aren't. There's like one horror movie coming out a couple weeks before, I think, from Blumhouse. And then Clayface has got like 2 weeks of downtime, then boom, horror right in front of Halloween. Like crazy. I don't know how it's not a more packed Halloween, but shout out Clayface. They're going to get some love just since it's spooky season. So that's the trailer park. We got to talk about Mother Mary. How you feeling? You ready? You feeling limber?
Ready for it.
All right. Please take it away.
Mother Mary. So this is the follow-up from David Lowery, who previously did The Green Knight. A Ghost Story, Ain't Them Bodies Saints. He's one of these. He does one for me, one for them. He's done a couple of the Disney sort of streaming movies, Peter Pan and Wendy, I believe, Pete's Dragon. So he works back and forth between like studio films and smaller independent things. Mother Mary is about the fictional pop star Mother Mary, played by Anne Hathaway, who's this kind of combination of Madonna, Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, bunch of other pop stars all rolled into one. And the night before, kind of, she's kicking off a new tour with a new young star. She's kind of an aging pop star that's, I think, relevant to this. She feels like everything's wrong. Her look isn't right, and she flies to England to find her old stylist, who she worked with for 10 years, and then they had a falling out, never spoke to each other, and she kind of comes knocking this dark and stormy night and says, I need a dress from you. You're the only one who can do it. I don't trust anyone else. The designer is named Sam Anselm, played by brilliantly by Michaela Coel, who is now what do you need me now? And so there's this like kind of fighting back and forth, this bickering of kind of going over old wounds, what happened when, where things are now and where they're trying to go. Initially, Michaela Coel says, "No, I'm not working with you. I'm not doing. I got to do a show." Eventually, she acquiesces for a number of reasons. This movie is a lot. The first half is a lot like a play. It's two people talking in rooms a lot, and then it starts to get very kind of metaphorical. Lots of weird stuff. Lots of the kind of beautiful imagery. You get to see a little bit more of Anne Hathaway as a pop star on stage throughout different moments, and really gorgeous, elaborate costumes. That's our setup. It gets a little weird later on. Lots to talk about. Zach, what'd you think?
So I like Mother Mary okay. I think Mother Mary is the kind of heady sort of movie that like film freaks dig, but like it's just hard to recommend to people. Like, I don't really know who this movie is for because it's a bit interpretive, and I think that's what works about it. I think a lot of Lowery's films maybe play better on second watch. I think they're very much him, and it's interesting because there's no dudes in this film at all, not a single one. Crazy. I can't remember the last time I saw a film without any men in it at all. Shout out Lowery. But more importantly, this film is written by Lowery, so the script is entirely him, directed by Lowery, and then it's also entirely edited by Lowery. So this is very much a David Lowery production. You are getting a story from the mind and heart and soul and guts of David Lowery. That's what this is. And I think that's interesting. I learned a little bit about how he made it, where it came from. He started working on it. He started writing when he was shooting Green Knight, which I think makes sense. You can start to see some parallels, at least in the visual design, between these two films. And this is much more Green Knight than like Pete's Dragon, right, for Disney. So I get where Lowery's coming from. And like, I like this kind of combative thing these two characters have in the creative process. The two of them trying to collaborate to create one unique vision, and how one of them has to sacrifice, maybe both of them have to sacrifice a bit of their identity, like who they really are, in order to give over that creative part of themselves and make something truly great. Build this Mother Mary character, this brand that exists in this universe. Yeah, she's very Lady Gaga. She's very Beyonce. Hilariously, much like M. Night Shyamalan's Trap, she's like a dark artist. That's the thing. It's like dark arts and witchy and stuff, and like the bomb doesn't go for that. So you got to suspend disbelief a little bit, but it's fine. You get decent music by FKA Twigs and Charlie XCX and Jack Antonoff, right? So you got a couple okay needle drops, mostly sung by Anne Hathaway, who's got the chops, and Michaela Coel is a lot of fun. I think what's weird about this movie is it's kind of two movies. It starts as one thing, and then it begins to become something else. In the second half, it begins to turn into a bit of a ghost story, which feels a bit more like Lowery than I'd expect. But honestly, I think I was more with the first half than the second half. Things start to become loose, and the fabric starts to spread out on the table a bit come part two. So yeah.
I was a little bit the same way. So like I said, the first half is like a play. It's literally the two of them just talking in this studio. Michaela Coel's like working with fabric and scissors, and there's a little bit of danger element. There's lots of very catty back and forth. I was really into this part. Like I said, it's very much like a play, and like I said, things are slowly revealed about their true feelings about each other, their relationship, things that happen, and their relationship is never completely defined. It seems like it was a business relationship. a friendship, maybe more, maybe not. Like there's hints of like sapphic interest, but I'm not really sure that that's what it really is about. But I really like that first half. Like I said, it starts to get really kind of bizarre in the second half. We get some backstory stuff to where, like a lot of pop stars, Mother Mary kind of does this seance thing where FKA Twigs shows up, and they like kind of do a Ouija board thing, and things get kind of weird. And that leads into a lot of stuff in the second half of things. That part worked less for me. Visually, that's when it's at its best. It's most gorgeous. Like there's all these flowing fabrics and different gowns. And like I said, the performances of like where they filled small stadiums and recreated, pop star things. So the second half just doesn't work as much for me. But at the same time, that's kind of the bigger part of why you're there. That might work better for some people. It's very metaphorical, as the director has said, very much open to interpretation. I'm still really not sure what it's about, but I like that in a lot of ways. Like it's a challenging film that way.
Yeah, Sean Fennessy over in the Big Picture podcast talked to David Lowery after a screening of the film a couple weeks ago, and they just published that interview earlier this week. And Lowery talks about where the film came from. He started writing the film one night when he couldn't sleep. After he had been directing on the set of The Green Knight, he had a scene between Sean, I forget his name, and the king,
Sean Harris.
Sean Harris, King Arthur, and Dev Patel's character, our knight. And the two of them had been on set, and it was kind of an intense day where they had this conversation. It's a really great scene in the film. Green Knight rocks, covered on the show. Go check out the review on the channel. And he really enjoyed just filming with the two of them, just like a straight dialogue, boom, boom, this kind of intense emotional thing, like. And so that evening he couldn't sleep, and he started thinking about this kind of scene, this kind of creative exchange where one character comes to another and says, "Hey, I need you to make something for me. I need you to make me a dress." And they have this past, and he started kind of putting that together. And I think that's where most of the first half of the movie comes from. And I'm with Andy. Like, I think I a little bit enjoyed that more than the second half. The second half is much more visual and like has a lot more going on in this kind of ghost story that kind of develops. And I like the way we get there. It's a bit suspenseful, a bit spooky, right? A bit witchcraft, and like that stuff is cool. Yeah, but our opening with the two of them kind of sparring back and forth and getting into like who we were and who we are now. Michaela Coel's character is just like so like, I don't know, she's like a nymph in the woods or something. Yeah, she's like mysterious and kind of bouncy with her language. And you can't really get a finger on what exactly it is she wants. She seems to want to help this person, but also like cannot stand Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway, meanwhile, is like incredibly depressed. And just playing an older pop star, which I think is really cool. Opposite like this opening act it's opening for, which is like this very young, like Sydney Sweeney, almost Taylor Swift looking girl, right? Sabrina Carpenter kind of vibey thing. Like Mother Mary is seemingly kind of on the out and out, and has had this kind of trauma in the past that has led to her maybe kind of re-debuting now, like for the first time in a little while. And that's when, she approaches Sam, handing this thing, and Sam's kind of flighty, but ultimately decides, okay, we're going to help you, we're going to do it. And that first bit where they're kind of digging into each other and walking around this really large like warehouse space, they have this large like barn kind of space, like really good, like simple, like a play, like you said, really basic. And then it starts turning into a ghost story because the two of them discover that they have this common thing that happened to both of them just after they kind of stopped seeing each other, that may lead to something deeper and more sinister. And somehow it takes a step away from what it was and kind of starts stepping into the metaphors that our very characters have been discussing. Anne Hathaway's got a great line at one point. She's like, "Stop with the metaphors. Like, it's all too confusing. Like, I can't keep up with all this." It kind of steps into that space. It becomes very interpretive, and I think there's people out there that will really like that and connect with it. I just kind of didn't. Like, I needed it a bit more spoon-fed to me. I'm a dumb boy. And this just felt like, I was like, okay, it's about ego and it's about creative collaboration and struggles of relationships past. But from coming from one guy with no collaborator, it is an interesting dip into Lowery's mind and in his space. And I did really like the way he kind of comments on making something for somebody else, because he's made 2 films for Disney. He's twice now, he's kind of licensed out his creative ability to a bigger studio and white labeled it. Nobody really remembers Peter Pan and Wendy, right? He could have been out making something like this or something like Green Knight or something like a ghost story with Rooney Mara. And instead, he has put his creative potential aside to build something for somebody else, and he has to sit with that and be okay with that. And I think a little bit of that's in here. Making something for something that you don't feel maybe represents you. I don't know. That stuff I connected with. The relationship stuff, I was kind of out in the cold.
Yeah, I think this is a good time to talk about performances. Michaela Coel is incredible on this. Like they are both divas, and Michaela Coel is kind of the one with the upper hand. You know, she is at the top of her profession in fashion and costume design, whatever. I didn't buy Anne Hathaway as a pop star as much. Like she can put on the costume. I feel like if you put on the costume and get on stage, you're like 90% of the way there. I was reminded of the moment of Charlie XCX's film, where you have an on-stage persona and also an off-stage persona as a pop star. Like you're never not a pop star, even when you're off stage. And I just didn't really buy Anne Hathaway as a pop star off stage. She's doing Fantine from Les Miserables, where she's just like on the verge of tears constantly. She's doing lots of like one tear, solo tear crying down the cheek, and she's just kind of this timid. I was like, I'm not really buying this person as a diva the way Madonna or Lady Gaga or Charlie XCX would be off stage as well. So she's, again, like she did all the singing. She does this dance number. She does this interpretive dance thing that's really impressive. She's like super ripped. I just didn't buy the diva-ness of it. It just needed her to eat more, for lack of a better term.
It helps that her character is later in her career. And is kind of having this moment of like self-doubt of like, hey, am I really still this thing that I wanted to be? Was I ever, like maybe I just don't have it anymore kind of feeling. And that's part of why she needs this dress that expresses her and has clarity. That's a big part of it. It's got to be clear and obvious. But you're kind of right. Like through like the first third of the movie, like her hair's wet and she's like, her eyes are full of tears. Yeah. Right. Her roots are coming out because like she's like a weak version of herself that's been hiding under this wig and all of this makeup and stuff. And like, yeah, I think she does that pretty good. I should say there is some really tremendous choreography, specifically in one scene in this film where she like really nails this really long dance number that's particularly impressive and very physical. Reminded a lot of like Suspiria, like Dakota Johnson just fucking killing it in that movie. So I don't know. Like I think I like Hathaway fine. Michaela Coel, meanwhile, like she's in 2 films this year. She's in this and The Christophers with Ian McKellen. And I haven't seen that movie. I haven't seen a lot of her. I know she's done some stuff over on HBO. A lot of fun. Very fun performance. Like I kind of really got drawn into what she was doing here. Like it's very thoughtful, kind of like dialed back thing that's very mysterious. Like, yeah, she yeah. I'm a big fan of what she's doing. Although, like, I like the performances, I like the tone. I think it's got a lot of haunting imagery in the back half that makes for good trailers, but I do think it's a difficult film to market. Because when you actually watch the thing, like when you boil it down, you're like, okay, yeah, this is an oddly shaped sort of movie with some complex, heady themes I think not everybody would get into, and that makes it difficult to recommend, I think.
Right. Sorry, I just wanted to mention a couple of other performances. Hunter Schafer is in this movie. Briefly, I thought she's in like 5 minutes at the beginning and then she disappears. And I thought that was going to be it, but she does get a really good scene kind of towards the end. Also features FKA Twigs. Like we said, Kaya Gerber has a short, she's part of the posse as well. So we have some, supporting things as well, but I agree with Zach. It's a hard sell. Again, who do you recommend this to? Which is a good time, I think, to get into recommendations.
Yes. Andy, would you recommend Mother Mary?
I would say save it for streaming if you're interested. Again, it's kind of a long, slow character drama between these 2 people. It's very metaphorical, and the second half gets really, really weird. If you're into that, kind of a more experimental, artistic, challenging kind of film, check it out. I mean, it does look great in theaters. Maybe check it out at home. Other than that, I have a hard time recommending it to general audiences.
Yeah, I like Mother Mary. Big vibes in Mother Mary. And if you like David Lowery's The Green Knight, I think you'll like this. I didn't connect with this in quite the same way as I did that film, but it's a different thing, and it's tackling very different subjects and has very different characters. A cool film with absolutely no men in it. Fascinating movie. Check out Mother Mary. It's still in theaters if you can. And if not, maybe wait for it to come to streaming because it is odd, and it's not for everybody for sure. We have one more film to talk about on the pod, and there's a hailstorm coming in. So I bet if we hit this in the next 10 minutes, we'll be fine. It's a mini review coming straight from Andy. I'm excited to get into it. Please take it away.
Lee Cronin's The Mummy. This is Lee Cronin's follow-up to Evil Dead Rise, and his previous film before that, The Boy Near the out of the hole in the ground. That's
the hole in the ground. Yeah, right.
Right. I had it, then I lost it.
Yeah. 2019, the hole in the ground.
Lee Cronin's The Mummy is a reimagining of the Mummy mythos. This is the Universal monsters are owned by Universal, and so they can't just call it The Mummy. That's why you have the long title, and the story's a little bit different. It takes place. It starts in Egypt with the Cannon family. Jack Reynor, who you might remember from Midsummer, is the father. They're living there. He's a reporter. One day, their young daughter, Katie, is kidnapped. Never seen. They don't find her. They move back to the States. 8 years later, they have another child, and they get a call from Egypt saying, "Hey, your daughter actually has been found, and she's still alive. She is in some sort of catatonic state. We're not real sure, but you can come get her and bring her home. She might look a little cursed." It is at this point that I would probably be like, just keep it.
Yeah, no, just keep the kid. Yeah, no, it's fine.
No,
we're not gonna go get him. Yeah.
So they bring Katie home, who is in this catatonic state. She's like has really gray skin, and she can't talk. In a wheelchair, and then strange things start to happen around the house. The curse of the mummy comes alive. We're not real sure what it wants. That's our setup. Part of this movie works. A lot of it doesn't. The things that do, it is real gory. It is real body horror, hard on the body horror part. Like, you are going to get your money's worth if that's the kind of horror you're into. And we have creepy kids. We have like a creepy kid is more or less possessed by the spirit of the mummy. Like I said, a lot of real gross out stuff. The stuff that doesn't work is that it's simply too long. It is 2 hours and 15 minutes. Like, again, 2 hours and 15 minutes. This is a 90-minute idea. It goes on way too long. It mostly has what I call setup fatigue. It just takes too long to get going. It takes a full 40 minutes before we get Katie back home and she starts, causing trouble. This is what we know from the trailer, and it takes us all of Act 1 to get there. That's a little frustrating. And it's this clumsy back and forth where they start in Egypt, they go back to the States, they go back to Cairo, then bring her back to it's like smooth this out somehow. One-way trip. Like I said, it's way too long. Part of the reason is you get this backstory of the mummy's curse, essentially. And I assumed that they were going to be exploring the pyramids, and young Katie goes into a tomb she's not supposed to, and touches something she's not supposed to, and gets possessed. That's not what happens. There's this very overly complicated backstory about some secret society, something out of like Indiana Jones 3 of like it's our family's sacred duty for 80 generations to contain the spirit of the mummy, and it's really complicated. Turns into a cop procedural in the B plot. Meanwhile, all the stuff is going wrong at home. People start dying. People start getting hurt. Weird stuff with animals. Again, trying to still figure out what happened because they don't really know. They don't know who took their daughter, what happened in the interim time. So I think that's really the things that don't work. It's simply too long. Cut this down to 90, 100 minutes. And you're there. Also, the horror is a very specific, very gross out kind of stuff. A lot of it involving children. There have been some complaints about kind of having this like deadite child be the center of this. So your mileage might vary on the child horror aspect of it. But so some of it works, some of it doesn't.
Boy, this sounds like a handful. I want to ask about writer-director Lee Cronin, right, whose name is at the top of the film. Part of that is to let the audiences know, hey, this is distinct and separate from any other Universal mummy projects, right? This is its own thing. This doesn't have to do with the Brendan Fraser mummy. It doesn't have to do with Tom Cruise mummy, right? That's the deal, right? This is its own like shaped off movie.
Yes, exactly. It is a completely self-contained, separate thing. I think money wise, it's doing okay. It was made for about $20 million. It's made 65, so it's in the green, in the black, so it's doing well. I think they might do more. It's pretty gross out. Even more so than Evil Dead Rise. And Evil Dead Rise, it's a pretty gory Evil Dead movie, and this is even more so than that.
Yeah, I feel like you can't talk about this without talking about Evil Dead Rise a little bit. Like, that's the other thing with Lee Cronin's name up at the top. Lee Cronin is the writer and director of Evil Dead Rise. And they're doing Evil Dead Burn. They're doing another Evil Dead movie. We covered the teaser for it just last week on the Trailer Park. Hit the channel, you can see it. But he's not a part of that. He's an executive producer on that. Like a little bit of money, a little bit of creative direction, I think. But otherwise, other people are doing it. He's doing this. Am I crazy in saying this seems a little bit like we have Evil Dead Rise at Home, or maybe even something between like Evil Dead and The Exorcist, right? Like we're bringing the possessed kid back to the house, and we gotta, try to free them of the evil or whatever.
Yeah, just like the Evil Dead, it's a cursed movie. Our main character, or the daughter, gets cursed and possessed essentially by this evil ancient Egyptian spirit, and then all sorts of havoc starts happening around their house. Which it's funny, they have like this crawl space inside the wall, and it's the biggest crawl space I've ever seen. Like full-bodied humans can like run on the space between the walls. It's really kind of funny, but it is that same. Like I said, it's more like an Evil Dead movie. It's more like The Exorcist than necessarily The Curse of the Mummy, which I realize is a little bit difficult to even explain. I was like, how do you even describe what the classic mummy is besides the mummy itself wrapped up in bandages? Right. Basically, there's so I think you really do have to get creative with it, because I think it's a very simple premise to begin with.
I want to just a couple more questions before we wrap it up. I got to talk about this gross out stuff, because I heard it from you. I've heard it from a couple other people who have seen it. Quite gory. What do you call this in horror? Because Blumhouse does this a bit. Like when you have a horror movie that's kind of mid, so you just ramp up like the gore, so you're like leaning back in your chair, like gross out. They used
to call it torture porn.
There you go. There was a time, yeah.
It's a little bit like it's a little bit like that. Without the torture isn't like direct. That's not the objective. It just ends up happening.
Yeah.
I'll briefly describe one thing, kind of because this happens towards the beginning, and it only gets worse. But we are clipping poor Katie's nails, which are like solid stone at this point, and you're just waiting for like an entire toenail to rip off. That's what the setup is. But what happens is so much worse, where like her skin begins to come off, not just the nail, and you're like, and it's on a child, so it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And that's one of the more mild. It's one of the more mild things that happens in the movie.
That's so weird. I'm gonna start to corner this, because there's certain horror films that really lean in on this, and I'm just kind of fine with it. It just makes me more uncomfortable than anything else. I want to ask about Jack Reynor. Last question. Yeah. Well, second to last question, because I gotta ask recommendations. How's Jack? I've not seen him since Midsommar, right? Like he ends up in a bear in that movie. He's kind of the big lead here. I know his co-star has done some television for sure. She's stepping up, but I know him. How's he?
Jack Reynor he does a really good job of doing Crazy Eyes, this big wide thing. Yeah. He does it in Midsommar. He does it again here. It's really good at that. The movie is a little bit all over the place, because first it's kind of the mother is doing some of the investigation, then he's doing some of the investigation, and then some missing persons cop back in Cairo is the main. It's jumping around about who our protagonist is. Jack Reynor's the biggest name here, but he's not necessarily the main character. It's a little unfocused that way, but he's fine. He also, like Midsommar, he is not having a good time in this movie either.
All right, a little long, a little too gross, a little misguided. Would you recommend Lee Cronin's The Mummy?
I think if you're a fan of Lee Cronin, his past work, Evil Dead Rise, kind of Saw, gross out, body horror, it's for you. It is a little bit too long at 2 hours, 15 minutes. It could be a half hour shorter. I think that it would help it a lot. It takes forever to get started. But once it gets going, it's pretty gnarly in the horror stuff. It has a lot of fun with that. It's not really it's not scary. Like I said, it's gross out horror, not fear horror. And the kind of B plot, the whodunit backstory is a little bit too complicated and goes on too long.
All right. That's Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Thanks for watching it. Yeah, we didn't cover it on the show. I know a couple people had asked if we would. I didn't think we would get to it. Shout out to you going out of your way to see it. That's episode 334 of Off Script Film Review. I got 2 pop stars and a cursed child. Pretty good for the episode, I think. Not too shabby. What are we watching next week?
So next week we're on break because I'm doing some traveling, but we'll be back on May 12th with Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft, the tour, live in 3D. That's quite the title. That's the full title. I'm a fan of Billie Eilish, but I'm also more interested. We're both more interested. What is James Cameron doing? Because he's partnered with her to bring us this film in 3D, and it's always exciting when James Cameron is behind the camera. So we're gonna be checking that out. It's only a 2-hour film. It's not like a 3-hour mega thing. And then we're also going to be taking a look at Mortal Kombat 2, which comes out on May 8th. Some FYI releases: the Adam Scott helmed horror film Hokum comes out this Friday, May 1st, where he's checking into some cursed hotel in Ireland. That looks a little spooky. And also, of course, The Devil Wears Prada 2 comes out this Friday as well, which we will not be covering at this moment. Maybe later when it's on streaming. But for next time, Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft, and Mortal Kombat 2.
If you enjoyed the pod today, if you like what we're doing here on Off Script, best way to support your boys is just subscribe to the show on your favorite platform. We're on all the places you can get your podcasts: iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartMedia. We're on YouTube, of course, where the show is growing every single week. Very exciting. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Come give us a follow over there. Come leave a comment, leave a like, send a DM. Tell us what you've been watching lately. Give us a recommendation. Write into the show. We might even read it. Check out our website, offscriptfilmreview.com. And of course, excuse me, you can send us correspondence directly at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com. That's it. That's the show. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. From all of us at Off Script, the home of bold cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.